Overwatch 2's Season 3 is set to release on February 7th, 2023. The game, however, far from perfect. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about some balance changes I would like to see to the game, as well as ones that are already confirmed. Enjoy! Fellas, gonna keep it 1887 pesos with ya. Season 3 of Overwatch 2 is gonna make or break the game. Before we do that, make sure to subscribe. We're almost at 1500. Huge shout out to Overwatch Calvary for the news. Now, Blizzard has already stated there's a few confirmed balance changes coming to Season 3. The first one of these is going to address Roadhog. So Blizzard has stated they are going to nerf Roadhog, whether it be his one-shot, how his heal works. They're going to nerf him in some sort of way. The entirety of Roadhog's kit is completely unbalanced right now. His hook is a guaranteed one-shot on almost every single squishy character in the entire game. His primary fire shotgun does a lot of damage. His ultimate is very, very strong. His heal gives him damage reduction, and he also has 700 HP to burn through.
But Halzeey, just use an Ana or Junker Queen and purple him.
Unfortunately, Kiriko exists in the game with her cleanse, so it isn't always that easy. While yes, there is a little bit of counterplay to Roadhog with Ana, if the enemy team is picking Kiriko, it's very, very hard to kill Roadhog, especially if she just saves her cleanse for the purple. In my opinion, I think the only things they need to address on Roadhog is his one shot on 200 HP targets, so anything above that, for example, Cassidy or Reaper, he shouldn't be able to one-shot. Like, if I'm playing Soldier or Hanzo or something and I get hooked, that's completely my fault. I shouldn't even be in range to get hooked by him. But if I'm playing Reaper or Cassidy and I get hooked, I should have a little bit of a chance to escape it. I also think it needs to be mentioned that his damage reduction on his heals is extremely strong. When Roadhog uses his breather, he's almost completely unkillable. So I think if they tone back the damage reduction on his breather a little bit and reduce the one-shot potential on over 200 HP targets, I think he'll be in a pretty balanced state. Another potential change they could do to Roadhog is just to decrease his hook range. In the tank versus tank battle, he shouldn't be able to just find a random hook on my support that's all the way in the back line. If they decrease the range on his hook, I think Roadhog would actually be in a pretty balanced state as well. But I digress. Any combination of either nerfing his hook or his heal, maybe even both, will for sure help the health of the game. Next, a change nobody really saw coming. Blizzard is taking a look at the ability of keeping 30% of your ultimate charge when switching from character to character. Now, to me, this news kind of came as a shock to me. I didn't really expect Blizzard to be making a change to this so soon. I actually really like that you keep 30% of your ultimate charge when you do switch from character to character. Because back in Overwatch 1, if you were to switch with your ultimate, you would go back down to 0. But in Overwatch 2, if you switch, you still have 30% of your ultimate charge, which actually does help quite a bit. I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below on this. Why is the 30% issue such a problem? In my opinion, I don't really think it is. In my opinion, the game, you have to switch a lot, and if you're keeping a little bit of your ultimate charge, it gives you that comeback potential. For example, if I'm playing Pharah into 3 to 4 hit scans and I have ultimate and I want to switch, I'm not going to be punished as hard for switching with my ultimate. Say, for example, if I was to switch to Genji to deal with those 3 to 4 hit scans, I'd still have 30% working towards my Dragon Blade. If they change this so that it goes back to 0% when you switch, I don't like that change at all, to be honest. I think a huge part of the game is actually switching and counter-picking what your opponent plays. And if you have ultimate and you switch to a different character and you go back to 0, I think that's going to punish switching even more. It's already punishing enough having to build your ultimate back up, and if we're switching it back to 0%, I don't like that. I really don't. But we'll see what Blizzard has to say. Obviously, I'm going to update you fellas as we get more news. I think the change most of us are very excited about is the changes coming to competitive. Now, right now, Overwatch 2's matchmaking system is an absolute disaster. So with changes coming to that, I think the game will be in a very healthy state. I just did an entire video on this yesterday, so I'm not going to go too in-depth on this today. Also, one thing to mention, these changes are not necessarily confirmed for Season 3, but in my opinion, they need to be in Season 3. If Blizzard doesn't do anything about the matchmaking system in this season, I don't think the game is gonna last. It's in a terrible spot right now, and I think Blizzard understands this, so I don't want to jinx anything, but my best guess would be that they're going to have some changes addressed for it for Season 3. So far, I think Blizzard is on the correct track with these 3 changes. The only one that I'm kinda questioning is the ultimate change, but I'm sure they have a good reason to do it. Now this brings in my question though. What changes would I personally like to see for Season 3? Now for me personally, the biggest change that I would like to see Blizzard do is make it so cleanse does not remove purple. And when I say purple, I'm referring to anti-heals. Or make it so cleanse only can remove 1 CC ability at a time. There's been a few times where an opponent has been slept and purpled at the same time, time, and guess what? Kiriko Cleanse, it cleanses both of the CCs at the exact same time. To be honest, it should just be a 1-for-1 trade. If I'm using my anti-grenade, I should just only get cleansed, but if the opponent slept and antied, it shouldn't remove both of them. I don't think her ultimate is as good as it used to be after a few nerfs, but I think her cleanse needs to be addressed so that we can see some new supports in the meta. I'd also like to see some Orisa nerfs. After her recent buffs, she's become an absolute menace. Maybe some changes that Blizzard could do to fix Orisa is just increase her cooldowns a little bit, just like they did with Zarya. Right now, it feels like her cooldowns are too short of cooldowns, and that she's just running rampant throughout games. Maybe give her the Zarya treatment, increase her cooldowns, but maybe slightly increase her damage. I definitely would just start by increasing the cooldowns. I think if we're seeing some Roadhog nerfs, we should also see some Orisa nerfs. They're both extremely strong and equally as powerful. The next change I would like to see is to Ramatra, and particularly his ultimate. Now, I know you guys might disagree with me, but in my opinion, having an ultimate that lasts infinitely in a team-based game is extremely overpowered. It definitely should not last infinitely. Maybe give it a cap cooldown of 10 to 15 seconds. Now, I'm not saying it happens all the time, but there's definitely times where Ramatra ult feels like it lasts more than 20-25 seconds and he just runs at you. Personally, I think gameplay like that is extremely unfun for Overwatch, and it takes most of the skill out of it. Next, a couple DPS changes. I think the first big one, I know most of you might not know this, but Genji Deflect is extremely overpowered. Personally, I think the cooldown on this ability needs to be increased as well, maybe by 2 to 3 seconds, because right now it feels like Genji always has Deflect up. The next change, I think Sojourn needs to be fixed as well. Her railgun is still extremely strong. I was talking to my buddy about this. I think a good way to balance her would be to put a cooldown on her railgun. And what do I mean by this? Instead of just making it based off the amount of charge you have, you could put a minimum of like 1 to 2 seconds in between railgun shots. I think this would address some of her power and make her ultimate feel way less spammy of her railgun. And for the last change, I think Mercy needs to be addressed as well. Mercy right now is extremely strong. In the 5v5 setting, her damage boost is very powerful. So maybe Blizzard could tone back her damage boost a little bit or even nerf her resurrect cooldown. Now, I'm not going to sit here and talk about every single character, but if I saw some of these balance changes, I'd be happy. Now, usually in balance changes, Blizzard only touches a few characters at a time, but I think these characters that I talked about in this video today need to be addressed immediately. Maybe Genji not so much, but definitely Roadhog, Orisa, Ramatra, all three of those tanks need to get nerfed. Kiriko, Sojourn, and Mercy. Blizzard has recently announced that they're going to be releasing a lot of updates over the next couple of weeks before Season 3 is released. I think this is a very good sign for Blizzard. Usually they're pretty quiet with their balance changes and they don't really tell us what's going on. But if they're taking a different approach to things now and actually telling us what they're thinking of changes, I think the future for Overwatch 2 is very bright. That's gonna be all for me. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe. My name is Halzeey, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.